We're all subject to our own biases, and given that I'm aromantic, one of mine was that I disliked romance. Given how popular the romance genre is for manga, I've been forced to read my fair share, but this manga in particular is what's meant to the fact that I'm at least open to those stories. And the manga that opened me to it is me and my beast boss. The setting is kind of atypical. The protagonist, Sakioki, lives in a kimono mimi world, basically a world full of cat girls and dog boys. But there's also Saki's boss, Mr. Atlas, who has some sort of regressive gene, making him more terrifying and beastly than most. And yet, for some reason, Atlas chooses to make Saki his secretary, which is hella weird considering humans are looked down upon by beast folk. Is it a joke? Is he betting that she'll fail? Not at all. He just has a mushy-wushy crush on her. And that's it. That's the entire concept of the manga. It's one of those workplace romances, which isn't that unique of an idea in of itself. Hell, I'm pretty sure 50 Shades of Grey was also one of those, though this manga is far less kinky and more wholesome in nature. There's a lot of smittenness, where it's basically Atlas pining after Saki while she's entirely unaware. It creates room for a lot of cute moments where Atlas says something romantic and Saki just takes it on the chin, while Atlas just goes back to fawning over her. Future Fuuri here. I know this placement is hella awkward, but that's just because I completely forgot to do this earlier when I was writing the script and putting this video together, so now I'm just kind of splicing it into the middle. Be sure to like and subscribe, and also spoiler warning, because from here on out I'm going to be getting into the finer details of this manga. Now, back to what I was saying, which won't really follow into this little line here, because again, this is Future Fuuri here, and I'm just kind of splicing this clip into the middle, so whatever. Though, speaking about Saki, I find her to be kind of interesting as a protagonist. Okay, well, interesting isn't the right word, but she's at least worth discussing. To begin, Saki is not very special. Breaking down her personality, she's your above-average wish-fulfillment romance protagonist. She's determined to make her place in the world, putting up a strong front in the face of oppression at the hands of the beast folk. She's also a nice person, never letting treatment or perceptions of people cloud her judgment. It's these facts that are why she chooses to actually accept the position of secretary, even though she's just as scared of Mr. Atlas as everyone else. The fact that he's the only one to compliment or even acknowledge her is the reason she chooses to stick it out. I do like this, since it makes Saki a believable character. You really could see someone with her personality choosing to go against the grain and accept the position as secretary. The problem is that there's not really anything special about Saki. She's just a determined young woman, and I can't name how many times I've seen that character. Her determination can come in clutch and can lead to a cool moment or two, but that's not the thing helping her most. I think Saki's biggest strength is her rather strong reactions. Most of the time, she's straight-faced and straight-laced, but every so often we're reminded this is a manga and she makes one of those anime faces. It means she can actually earn a chuckle from you and climb that bare minimum bar of being interesting to watch. Saki doesn't bring the manga down, but I won't say she brings it up either. I would like to speak more about Saki. She is the protagonist of the manga after all, but I kinda already explained why I can't really do that. And it's a real shame too, because the rest of the cast is fairly interesting, even the side characters. There's the chauffeur, Mr. Gray, who is Atlas's former secretary. On the surface, he seems quite cold and stiff, especially towards Saki, but in reality, he just cares for Mr. Atlas deeply. Besides, the real draw of this manga, and frankly the one who carries the entire thing, is the love interest, Mr. Atlas. Like I said before, he's the CEO and Saki's boss, and it's his appearance that terrifies everyone around him. This leads to the ironic situation where despite being on top, he's actually rather lonely. At the start of the story, the only person he can really confide in is Mr. Gray. But that circle gradually expands as Saki and Saeki. Okay, slight side note. One of my biggest issues with this manga is that those two names are too similar. We have the protagonist Saki, Mr. Atlas's secretary, and then we have the other human Saeki, who's Saki's secretary. It's probably a testament to the quality of this manga where one of my biggest issues are just some names, but holy fuck does it piss me off. Getting back on topic, Mr. Atlas is the real driving force behind the story. He likes Saki, he knows he likes Saki, and has set everything up to try and get closer to her. The only thing really getting in the way of that is just how absurdly shy and timid he really is. I think that's an interesting contrast for him because Atlas is a very dynamic character. Everyone who talks about him, and even those that don't, are always so intimidated by him, always assuming he's much tougher and stricter than he really is. In reality, he's soft-spoken and kind, and entirely heads over heels for Saki, even if she doesn't know it. But at the same time, he can get angry, violent, and physical, especially where Saki's concerned. So Atlas feels like a rather multifaceted character, where he shows multiple sides of himself rather frequently. My favorite thing the manga does with this ties into the art. For the most part, it's nothing particularly special, but that's not to say it's bad either. The characters in it look good and distinct, though it is clear that the author has a gift for the, furry side of things. Don't get me wrong, Saki's hair looks nice, but holy hell, Atlas always looks really good. Atlas's Muppet hands be damned, my boy can draw hair and fur. Everything about the way he's drawn, from the usual detail to the goofy moments, make him stand out. However, there are times where he acts befitting of his appearance, and that soft uwu boy disappears, and the art changes to reflect that. Okay, so I'm interrupting this video to bring you a fun little fact, and feel free to call me Mr. Dum Dum for this. But as I was writing this script, I felt the urge to check the author's gender and stuff and yada yada yada. And that's how I found out the third volume of this manga came out last week. Y'all are so lucky I caught this early, otherwise I'd be rewriting this entire video. Now, what the fuck was I talking about? Right, the way Shiro Inu, that's the author by the way, draws Atlas. The moments of the manga that always stand out to me, aside from the moments where Atlas gets mad, are when Atlas gets softer than he usually is. It's the moments where he's either saying something unintentionally romantic or gets completely consumed by his crush. The art takes a dreamlike quality, enhancing the moment, really selling how touching they are. Finally, we have the side characters, the two biggest of which I've already mentioned, that being Mr. Gray and Sayaki. These two are really great additions to the cast, specifically for the way they bounce off our two main characters. Like I said, Gray's cold exterior hides a surprisingly sweet center. He actually cares for Atlas and even Saki. He even has a human wife, and he wants to see Atlas and Saki get together. He takes on a role similar to a mentor or damn near a father figure, actively wanting what's best for both Saki and Atlas. It's Gray's surprising enthusiasm and gung-ho nature that catches you off guard. Like in the extra materials when the characters see Saki all dressed up for the first time. Sayaki makes an ass of himself and Atlas pretty much ascends to another plane of heaven. And Gray is off to the sidelines enjoying every second of it. I think the best comparison for him might be like Alfred from Batman. He's calm, cool, collected, and servile, but he's also a jokester at heart. Sayaki, on the other hand, takes on the role of the new guy. He doesn't know what's going on as much as everyone else, nor their inner workings. However, he's proven to have a good head on his shoulders and to be particularly observant. He's able to grasp the underlying workings of why the person who attacked Oki wasn't fired, but instead shuffled to a different company. He was even able to pick up on the fact that Gray's hearing isn't as good as most beastmen's. Both Gray and Sayaki know that Atlas has a thing for Saki, however, Gray's trying to push Atlas and Saki together and Sayaki just kinda gets roped into it. Did you just hear that sentence? Now you understand why I hate the fact that it's Saki and Sayaki. Too similar. Sayaki and Gray even talk about the fact that Saki doesn't view Atlas as a man, just as a coworker. The idea of dating him doesn't even enter her mind because Atlas is primarily her boss. All those times you see her blushing, it's not like Atlas where he does it because he loves her. She's doing it because she's embarrassed she made an ass of herself at work. I'm not sure if I want to call it slow burn, as the manga only has 3 volumes and I have no idea how long this manga actually intends to take. But the series is definitely holding off on the immediate attraction angle. It's Saki and Atlas's relationship that makes up the bulk of what the series is about, but that's not all you get to see. The manga does have antagonists that plot to take the company from Atlas in one way or the other. The problem with these antagonists is that, well, they all kind of suck. The first is Felice C. Bell, who's hired by the director to seemingly try and replace Saki. In reality, she's not just here to replace Saki, but to steal information and a bit of corporate espionage. She's the first real external antagonist, and while I don't think she does her job poorly, like Saki, she's not terribly original. I mean, the same thing was done in The Sacrificial Princess and The King of Beasts, and it was done better there. And that's not even to say it was done well in that manga. Maybe it's just me, but I really don't find this trope that interesting. The conflict itself isn't even done poorly. It introduces a lot of ideas, setting up the director for his role late in the story, and seeing Saki confront her is pretty cool. But at the end of the day, I've seen this kind of plot thread before. The managing director is the real inciting incident behind the whole Felice arc. But despite being the closest thing to the series' overarching antagonist, he's always in the background. He never comes into direct conflict with our protagonist, setting up those that do, like Magatsu and his company, which are the next major obstacle. But I do actually like Magatsu as an antagonist. Rather than being a beast man, he's a human like Saki, and he also has anti-beast prejudices, especially after his parents were killed, yada yada yada. It's kind of roundabout. This is actually a really cool idea, especially for the way it ties into the world with its whole humans versus beastman and prejudices and stuff. And this is only helped by the fact that he's also Saki's ex, tying this conflict back into the relationship, or lack thereof, between Saki and Atlas. The only problem with Magatsu is that he seemingly gets beat pretty quickly, so he stops being an antagonist. I checked, he's introduced in chapter 18 and beaten by chapter 22. That is 4 chapters. The only saving grace is that he's seemingly beaten. The 3rd volume does end on a Magatsu cliffhanger, so I'm not sure where it's going to go from here. Like, he's been beat, his plans have been exposed and foiled, revealing that the director was behind this too, but like, where do we go from here? Is he going to be an ally or something? Magatsu is like, eating a bag of chips. While you have the chips, they're pretty good, but once they're gone, you kind of miss them. The same way Magatsu is pretty good when he's there, but now that his role as antagonist is seemingly over, I'm just kind of missing when it wasn't. And the director is far too tertiary to fill that gap. I think Saki's met him like, once? And I'm stretching when I say that because he didn't introduce himself to her. He didn't even talk to her. He was just talking to Atlas while she was there. I'm calling him the director because I'm pretty sure we don't even know his actual name. Someone that far in the background can't really fill in the role as a good or even decent antagonist. However, having mid-antagonist really isn't that big of a problem for the manga. Me and My Beast Boss isn't a corporate drama. It's romance. You aren't here to see these corporate politics and power plays. You're here to see Saki and Atlas be so fluffy-wuffy you'd think they were covered in mold. So the antagonists don't really stop the manga from being pretty good. Saki, while not super interesting, isn't boring to watch. Atlas is a gem, and I really do like seeing Sayaki and Gray bounce off each other. There are so many moments that are just so sweet as you see this humongous lion reveal just how soft he actually is. And the relationship between Saki and Atlas is only enhanced by the extra materials in the volumes. We get to see stuff like a young Atlas unknowingly encountering Saki for the first time, and the little diagrams elaborating on the characters and their personalities. And the art in this manga is to die for, and I feel like Shiro Inu knows this. Some speech bubbles are transparent just so you get to look at as much of the art as possible. And as annoying as blacking them out instead of whitening them out is, I can't blame him for it. Look at this shit. It's gorgeous. I could keep going, but it's getting late where I am, so I should probably end this video. I give Me and My Beast Boss a 7, but I'm in a good mood, so it gets an 8. I totally recommend you read it. Now let's get to ending this video with our Patreon shoutouts. For our 3 stars, we have special thanks to Choran, SkyKing64, 87 Wera, Garen LaFay, Zora Chow, and Marvonla. For 4 stars, we have Miko and Utterly Awe, the great orators. And for our Super D2per special 5-star shoutouts, we have first Vanilla Flower, the martial arts master. Second, Spidey Zack, the stitched up being. Then the good old days, the oath tasting mountain. Followed by Hodari Lion, the frontline commander. Thank you for watching. Do be sure to like and subscribe. As always, this is Fuuri signing out.